Hi, I'm Mark Ryman, Learning Center agronomist here at Gothenburg, and today we're bringing you agronomic information from hopefully the last time that it's snowing on us. We had about 4 inches of snow overnight, which is, a little bit surprising, but not that uncommon for this time of year. One of the things we've been doing over the past weeks is, applying a lot of fertilizer through strip till or with our streamer bars to get ready for the upcoming season. And it really reminded me to kind of get in there a reminder about how we kind of manage our nitrogen here at the Learning Center and how we look at, getting the right rate out there on the acre. If you just want to brag about one of the things you hear is the pounds of nitrogen used per bushel produced, we've got a study from 2020 that shows just apply 0 pounds of nitrogen in there. It's 0 pounds of nitrogen there in the yellow box. We got 113 bushels of corn per acre. And when we went to that rate where we actually got the highest yields at 240 pounds of nitrogen, we got 208 bushels per acre there in the green box. If you look at that in terms of pounds of nitrogen per bushel, you actually only had to apply about 0.1 to 0.2 or 0.12 pounds of nitrogen per bushel of corn produced at 0, which is probably the highest rate you'd hear anyone talk about. And really at our highest yields, we applied 240 pounds of nitrogen, and that was about 1.2 pounds of nitrogen per bushel. But it's really important to remember in a year where we've got, good corn prices, we do have high nitrogen prices, you're not really in it to just talk about, how low was the pounds of nitrogen I applied per bushel of corn. We really want to economically optimize it for us. So we want to go in there, and the way we look at it is do a good job of counting for all of our sources of nitrogen. We look at our soil residual nitrogen by taking a 0 to 8 inch soil sample, and if we're curious about nitrates, an 8 to 24 inch soil sample, so we can get the amount of nitrate carryover in the soil. If you let the soils lab know what type of crop came before your corn, it'll account for things like a nitrogen credit from alfalfa or soybeans or any other legume crop. Some of the things that get a little more harder to calculate or more unique to us would be how much nitrogen do you get from your irrigation water. If you do a water test, you can calculate how many pounds of nitrogen you're going to get per inch of water applied, and you can really attribute that to the amount of nitrogen you've got available. You kind of use an average amount of water applied for the year. You do get some nitrogen from other sources like mineralization of soil organic matter, but those are a little harder to come up with a concrete answer for. So we kind of leave those out a little bit, unless maybe you know your situation really well. The other thing then I want to focus on, now that we have our end sources talked about, is what's your yield goal? Do an accurate job of setting that yield goal. It's okay to be optimistic, but you don't want to be too optimistic and say, an area of ground has only ever raised 220, 230 bushels, and you set the yield goal at 300. That's going to have you applying nitrogen for 300 bushel corn, kind of laying out all that money in a time when nitrogen prices are high, and really not having much chance of realizing that in yield at the end of the season. So it's important to keep that in line. If you've got your yield goal, you can do an accurate job of accounting for your nitrogen need, and then taking the nitrogen sources you've gotten from your soil, legumes, maybe your irrigation water, and if there's another source you can account for, that's good, and subtracting it. Making sure you do an accurate job will help you really economically optimize your field, make it the most profitable for you. So those are just some things to think about today as you're sitting in the office. We look forward, hopefully not in a snowy situation, to bringing you more agronomic information from the Learning Center next week.
Thanks for watching this video from the Gothenburg Water Utilization Learning Center. For more information, please call 308-537-4500.